Hi everybody, this is Gina from Euphoria Soapworks, or we're also transitioning into changing our business name to Euphoria Bath and Soapery, so you might see either one of those on our website or our YouTube channel. So if you're wondering about the confusion, that's what's happening. So we're still transitioning, so sorry about that. Anyway, today I just wanted to do a quick tutorial for how to master batch your lye water. It's not master batching in a large scale way, just in a way to make it more efficient, to make several batches at a time. So this is more on a small scale. You can, of course, make this as large as you want. It's the same principle, but I just wanted to show something kind of quick so that you have an idea of how to do it if you're trying to scale up a little bit and not really sure how to do that. Just a quick disclaimer, this is for advanced soapers. This is not for beginner soapers. All the same rules apply. You need to have your safety gear, so your gloves, your goggles, your long sleeves, all of that. So make sure that you've got that going on. I don't have my long sleeves yet, but I will in just a moment. And so I'm going to get started here in just a bit so that you guys can kind of get a glimpse into how I do things. This is simple for me, but if you have other examples of how to do something, great, leave them in the comments below. I love to hear everybody's ideas. They're always wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and get my long sleeves on, and I'll pause you for just a moment. Okay, so I'm back. We've got long sleeves, gloves, goggles. Especially since we're going to be working with a large amount of lye, you definitely want to make sure that you are fully protected. You don't want to have any splashes or burns. So basically what I'm going to do is scale up for about, gosh, I think it was, I'm going to make about 150 ounces of water, 150 ounces of lye. So what we're doing is a 50-50 lye solution. And that can make me about, let's see, 5 batches of large batches of soap. However, actually it makes about 4 batches, because I recommend that you always make at least a batch extra, because you will have some evaporation. That's just the nature of things. So if you try to do it exactly for how many batches you need, you're always going to end up short. If you've ever tried to make your lye water all in one batch and then separate things out for layers, and you find out you've come short with your lye water at the end of your last layer, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. So I recommend to do it this way. Just make over what you need, and that way you'll always you know, be able to make more and add to it if you want to. Okay, so I have here 100, and you need to use a large enough container, but not too large, because it needs to be easy to pour and handle. You don't want to have it weigh too much, because you need to be able to lift this. And this is a polypropylene container. So it has on the bottom, this container doesn't have it, but on the bottom of your containers, it should say whether it can handle chemicals. So this has a polypropylene 5, so it's great for handling lye and other kinds of chemicals. You don't want to have anything that's too flimsy, or that, you know, can't handle high temperatures or strong bases or anything like that, because it will melt. So this has 100 ounces of water. This container has 50. So I'm obviously just going to do 100 ounces of lye and 50 ounces of lye. But I'll just do it separately since I don't have a large container on hand. And I have a 50-pound bucket of lye that I'm gonna scoop from. It's one of these large buckets that have the lids that are really difficult to get off. But I like that, because then the kids cannot get into it, and I feel like it's safer. So never pour your lye or measure your lye directly into your water. You'll always have mistakes. I recommend you use a separate container, and then pour your lye in as you're measuring it out. So that's what I'm going to do. I think actually I'm gonna get a 4-quart container just to be on the safe side, so that it holds the measurement I want. I'll be right back for that. Okay, so you can do it in either ounces or grams, or whatever measurement you feel comfortable with. And you're going to want to tare your scale. And it is a 50-50 solution, so we're putting the exact same amount of lye as we are water. That way it makes it easy for your calculations later on. Okay. So here we're at 16 ounces, 75. So now we're at 82.20. And there we go. And we're at 100. 99, yep, there we go, 100. Okay, so I like to double check that I have the correct amount in here just to make sure. I always cover it with a lid in case there's any evaporation. So I will grab that and I'll be right back. So I'm just going to put the same 6-quart container on here, zero it out, and yeah, we're still at 100 ounces. So now I know I have 100 ounces of water and 100 ounces of lye. And I can start to carefully add this to the, this is why you wear your gloves too. I have little, let's see, little beads. This lye that I get is, I believe it's called Red Devil Lye by Duda Diesel. It's by far the least expensive. It's food grade. Its purity is, I think, 99% pure. It's more pure than Brambleberry's lye and some other manufacturers' lye. So just take that into account if you're formulating recipes off of their websites. So I'm going to go ahead and start pouring this very slowly. I have a stick that's long enough that I don't have to put my hand down in there. This is a silicone spatula. It's good for scraping. So same rules apply. You just add it slowly and stir. You want to add it very slowly because when you're working with large amounts of lye, it can heat up very quickly. I have actually added lye to warm water before, and I don't recommend doing that because you will have a volcano reaction happening as the lye is reacting with the water. Luckily, it was in a sink of cold water, so we didn't have any accidents, but I was curious to see what would happen, and now I know. All right, so we're going to add some more. Always add your lye to your water. If you're an advanced soaper, you already know this, but I thought I'd just mention it again. I probably need to find my mask. I'm in a well-ventilated area, but this always has fumes. Let's see if I have a... I don't have my mask on me right now. Okay, a little bit more. I need to pause you. I'm going to go get my mask. All right. The mask that I'm wearing right now is an N95 mask. It's mainly for particulates, not really for gases, but it does help. You know, it helps reduce some of those fumes. So this is a long, boring process, so I'm probably just going to cut to the chase here for you so you don't have to sit through the whole thing. And when I'm done, we will go over calculations. Okay, I'm back. And I wanted to mention real quickly that my lye water solution is cooling in a water bath, ice water bath. It depends on how much you're making at a time, it's going to start heating up exponentially. So you need to make sure that it's cool enough so that you don't have any accidents. So you can do this one of two ways. You can either carefully pour it into your container as it's sitting in an ice water bath, or you can pour it directly over to frozen distilled ice water. So distilled ice is an easier way to do it, and of course the lye will melt that down without overheating. I don't have that on hand, so I had to do it just in an ice water bath so that it stays cool enough. So that's cooling down. I haven't finished my other 50 ounces, but I'll do that later. But the main thing is that's pretty simple, and you guys will be able to do that no problem. So that's 50-50 lye, so whatever, 50-50 lye water, so whatever amount of water you're using, the same amount of lye. So if your recipe calls for, see if you can see this. I'm going to go over some of this with you real quick. If your recipe calls for, pardon me, 12 ounces of lye, you're going to want to make sure that you pour off 24 ounces of lye solution. The reason is you only have 50% of it in lye. So if you only pour off 12 ounces of lye solution, then you're actually going to have 6 ounces of lye and 6 ounces of water. So you need to make sure that you double that number. So you're going to pour off 24 ounces of lye solution, and in that 24 ounces of lye solution is 12 ounces of lye and 12 ounces of water. Now, if you're going to have a water discount, the time to do it is to do your discount when you're adding in your remaining water. Let's say that the water that you need for your recipe is 28 ounces, and you want to do a 10% water discount. So 28 times 0.9, which is 90%, it just makes it easier. It's not 90% that you're adding or using, it's 10% that you're taking away. So 28 ounces times 0.9 gives us 25.2 ounces of actual water that we want in our recipe. So if I have 12 ounces of lye and 12 ounces of water in my 24 ounces of lye solution, the remainder of water that I need is going to be subtracted from that. So I have 25.2 ounces, and I'm going to subtract 12 ounces from that. And the remaining water that I need to add back into my lye solution is 13.2 ounces. That way I will have a total of 12 ounces of lye and 25.2 ounces of water when I go to make my batch. I'll be all set. So that's a simple way to do it. You just have to make sure that you do not forget to double this amount. So if your recipe calls for 12 ounces of lye, you need to have 24 ounces of 50-50 lye solution. And if you forget, you're gonna be sorry, because your recipe will only have half the amount of lye that it's needed to saponify. So your soap will never fully harden, most likely. It will be an extreme super fat, and so you'll ruin the batch. So I just wanted to go over that with you guys. It's pretty simple. If you have questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments down below. I'll do my best to answer that for you. All of the same safety rules apply. I just want to reiterate that. Make sure that you're wearing all of your safety gear, especially when working with large amounts of lye. Definitely make sure you've got long sleeves, gloves, goggles, and a mask for fumes. So that's the gist of it. And like I said, you can use distilled ice. It makes it a lot simpler. It's a little safer. But if you don't have that on hand, you can just use distilled water and pour into an ice water bath. I can't do that here as I'm showing you, because this is a table, not a sink. So as I could feel it was warming up, I transferred that over to an ice water bath just for safety purposes. So always keep safety in mind. And like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm happy to help, and have a wonderful day. Thanks.